Hi, so today I want to share with you a technique that I've been using for quite a while on bare wood, mostly on oak. I love this technique. It brings out more depth and character from the wood, from the grain of the wood, and it also adds an aged appearance to the wood that I just love in a really beautiful brown color. It's this here. This is what the finished project will look like. And by the way, these are the tops of some nightstands that we have completed. These are farmhouse tops that my husband has built. And this is how they start off. This is bare wood, no finish, just sanded and assembled to fit the piece of furniture that it's going to go on top of. So let me adjust that camera and give you a really good look at just how to do this technique. So first off, I'm going to go over the supplies. Obviously you need bare wood. This is oak. You need General Finishes Van Dyke Brown Glaze. This is a wonderful product. I've used it a lot. It's my favorite way of staining furniture. Even though it's not a stain, I kind of use it as though it were one. It's water-based, so cleanup is super easy. You need a chip brush, and you need some paper towels. That's really all that you need. So the surface has already been sanded with a 150 grit, so it is smooth, not perfectly smooth, but you don't want to use a 220 grit because it will close the pores and it won't accept this as well. So I've sanded it down with a 150 grit. Actually, what I use is a very worn out 150 grit sanding sponge that still is able to sand, but it leaves a really smooth finish without closing the pores. So I've completely sanded over and I've wiped off the dust. I've already done that step. The next step is to work in sections of this top. So I leave my stir stick in the glaze because I like to mix it every so often while I'm using it, just to make sure that all of the ingredients in the glaze are completely mixed and nothing is settled to the bottom. You see that beautiful brown color? Love this. Then I'm going to take my chip brush and I'm going to have a paper towel ready. Just going to fold this one over. This one's dirty from the other top that I was working on. And it's important to keep in mind to keep this folded flat. Don't have a piece that is all jumbled up. That, because of the rough texture here, will leave a rough texture on the wood, and we don't want that. So I've got it ready to go. I'm going to get a little bit of the product on my chip brush, and I'm going to work in small sections on this. So I'm going to paint it right on, and it's pretty thick. Well, I say thick. I'm putting it on the item thick. This is actually a pretty thin product. It's kind of the consistency of milk. But I'm laying it on here pretty thick. And I'm not really worried about it being even or any of that. I'm just getting on a pretty thick layer, you see here. What this product is doing is soaking into all the grain. And I'm going to coax it along by kind of rubbing it in there. I want it to get into all that grain. And I'm going to work in small sections at a time. So this section is only about 3 or 4 inches wide. Then the next step is to wipe it off. So I'm going to use my flattened paper towel with my hand as flat as I can get it. And I'm just going to gently wipe it off. Whoops. That folded back on me. So let me try that one more time. There we go. There we go. See how it darkens the grain? I really love the look of that. It really enhances the grain. This brown color just settles into the crevices where the grain is. And like I said, this is oak, and it works especially good on oak. You can do this with other woods, but oak is really the best to do this. These are reclaimed lumber pieces that my husband finds and reclaims, pulls all the nails out and replanes the wood. There we go. See how we can just wipe that off, and look at that. Look how nice that looks. Now after you've done this a few times, the paper towel can get pretty thick pretty heavy with the leftover glaze that you've wiped off. So you need to change that cloth around a little bit. Otherwise, it won't be as absorbent. I would advise you use gloves for this project, by the way. I don't have gloves on. I'm not that patient that I went out to my workshop to get them. But this can get underneath your fingernails and not look so pleasant under the fingernails. It can be hard to get off. Even though it's water cleanup, you could get in there with a scrub brush under your nails. But if you just wore gloves, not like me, and then we're just going to wipe it off. Look how good that looks. Now if you notice, there are some streaks going on here. That's because there's a little too much of the glaze, so I'm just going back and wiping it off. Moving my cloth around, getting a nice flat edge, and wiping it off. You have to work in small sections. You don't want it to dry till you get to the next section, because then it will overlap. You'll have an overlap line, and you don't want that. It won't look good. So you do in small sections. You move kind of quickly, and I'm in a room where there's no air. So if I were outside in my workshop and the garage door was open, or if I had a fan on, it would dry too fast. So I'm in a back bedroom in our home doing these tops. So here's the last section. Just get a little bit of that product, really work it into the grain. And just wipe it off. Look how good that looks. So the glaze is so good at just settling into the grain and not staining the whole piece. If I were to use stain, this would be much darker, and you couldn't differentiate the grain as well as you can just with this glaze. So the next step is to just let it dry. And if I choose, I can add another coat, which will darken the whole thing. I could do that. I've got to go back and do the sides. And once that's done, these are ready to go onto the nightstands that we've made. So thanks a lot for stopping in. I hope that you are able to try this project for yourself. And let me know if you do. Thanks.